Hey guys, and welcome back to the Angery American Nation Podcast. It's me, your favorite Angry American. And in these recent days of trying times, I'm really happy that today we're bringing on one of the most positive people that I've ever spoke with. He's always in a positive mood, he's always in a good mood, and he's always trying to reinforce that in others. And he's doing amazing stuff. So today we're bringing back Hakim Isler. Hakim, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you back. And like I said, it's going to be nice to talk to somebody who's always in a positive mood because there's so much negativity out there right now today.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm always in a positive mood, but I definitely try.
Well, you even if you're not, you generally look like you are, and I know you're always trying to be. So you're always trying to educate others and uplift the things you volunteer with, rape crisis centers, things like that. The stuff that you do that most people probably have no idea about speaks volumes for you. And you're just trying to improve community, which is what we're always talking about: improving and building community.
Yeah. I have for my business, I have a logo, and it's like this person standing in this martial arts position, and it highlights it. Actually, the term that position is called actually means embracing the perimeter. So the idea is that you embrace your immediate perimeter, which is you, yourself, and then you move that outwards: your friends, your family, your community, your country. But it all starts with you taking responsibility for bettering and empowering yourself, being helpful, being happy, being loving and caring, and then seeing that light spread outward to everything else versus trying to do it the other way around. So that's one of the things that I really truly believe in is like, hey, take responsibility for your actions and who you are and what you are and how you portray yourself in the world. And people will see that, feel that, and they will start to reflect that. And therefore you are the catalyst for bringing about the type of change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah, because it all starts with you, like the individual, the collective you. It starts with each individual to create the type of happiness too that they want in their lives as well. I know so many people, and I got good friends who are living very unhappy right now, mainly because of jobs and things like that. They hate where they're at, and I feel so bad for them because you're dedicating most of your waking hours to doing something you hate to do, and it drags people down. So it's always nice to try and lift them up, And so I call them, and touch base with them, and check with them, and try to make sure they're staying, keep my head above water because there's some difficult times out there for some folks at the moment. So we all got to lend a hand where we can. I'm a firm believer in that. We're assisting a group in South Africa at the moment that does community security by getting equipment to them. We're helping with funds, a lot of equipment. We sent a lot of radio equipment over to them. Got more to go, and some other equipment just showed up yesterday that we'll be forwarding over to those guys. And we're bringing one of them over here in October to be doing some training and some speaking. So sadly, we won't make it over to your event because he's going to be here through that entire time. But if there's a chance we can sneak over for a day, we might, because I want to have him with me most of the month. So we might try to sneak by if it's all possible.
Yeah.
He's the primary reason we're bringing here is getting some training, but also so he can speak, because in South Africa, they're living what a lot of us anticipate things may deteriorate to here. As far as, they dig up the power lines there and steal the copper and sell it for scrap. And no one has power. They'll steal the copper water lines off the side of your house.
Wow.
Carjackings are constant. Armored cars are always hijacked, like what they call a cash in transit van. Doesn't stand a chance of getting to the destination these days in South Africa. And so it's pretty rough. And, it's someone who's living this, and we wanted to try to benefit from his experience knowledge-wise, which is why we're supporting him with equipment and stuff, because, we like to help wherever we can. And we saw a need here, so we stepped in, and we're helping the guy out. Which leads us to what you're doing. You're getting ready to launch the Ready Expo. And it's coming up in October, and that is all about what we're just talking about: helping people, educating people, building community, and letting people get around other like-minded folks like them, to socialize more than anything. That's a big deal of these things to me. The events, the training, and the information is all fantastic, but there's opportunities to get together and socialize with like-minded people. And you don't have to be 100% like-minded. But if you're into growing your own food, or you're into a little bit of self-reliance, that sort of thing, these are great events to go to. And I'm happy to hear you're doing it. So where's it going to be, and what all you guys will be covering?
Yeah, so it's going to be in Robbins, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes outside of Pinehurst, North Carolina. Pinehurst is where they do like the PGA golf tour and all that stuff. It's a big golfing community. And it's, some people may know Carthage, Carthage is kind of small comparatively. But that's where it'll be at. And it'll be on my property. I own 100 acres out there. So we'll be doing this big event. I've been spending most of the year just kind of prepping it and getting it ready for something this massive. I did it about 2 years ago with another group and just didn't like the way they did things. And we kind of went our separate way. But it was on their property. And and now this was the first time I was just like, I'll just bring it to my property and do it there. So Robbins, North Carolina, October 25th through the 27th, we'll be doing the Ready Expo. And, the goal is just like what you said, there's this, it's real easy to feel divided. It's real easy to feel isolated in our country. And so having more people get together who have similar ideas and concepts so that they can just talk and have communication and community and fellowship really changes the dynamic of a lot of things. Again, I love that you said you don't have to always be on the same page with all your ideas. But the reality is that if we just surround ourselves with, just a small group of people, then we're missing out on the connections with people outside of our spheres, which isolates us and give us a very narrow-minded mindset about what is going on. So to be able to have some conversations with people who don't grow up in the same area with you or hang out with the same friends as you might lead for just some inner self-discovery or just discovery of a different type of way of thinking or how other people might be thinking that may not be contrary to yours 100%, but also may not be 100% in line with yours. And I think that's where real discussions happen. And I think that's where real growth happens. It's not when you're you're looking at a mirror image of yourself, but when you're looking at a little bit of a distorted image, and you have to really think, like, why is that way? And ask those questions and have those conversations.
Yeah, you can't learn anything in an echo chamber where everybody's shouting the same thing, because that's uni thought. That's one idea. I enjoy civil debate. I love to debate people that are 180 degree out from my line of thinking. But civilly, I will have a civil discussion, and I don't drag them or get nasty. But in recent years, in probably like the last 5, 10 probably, civil debate is about evaporated. So you can't have a civil conversation with someone you disagree with, if they're extreme to your beliefs, because they'll immediately break down and start calling you a Nazi and a fascist, all these other things, because they have no argument in a lot of cases. But someone who can intelligently articulate their position, I will debate them all day long. Friendly too, and I've got very good friends who are diehard liberals. We agree on nothing. I still go to his house and have dinner with him and we hang out, We're still friends. We just don't talk politics much. We do a little bit. We take jabs at each other, but it's in humor and good nature. We know we disagree, but we know we're still friends, Yeah. And I like when you're bringing diverse ideas together into one spot, because you're probably not, catering to the extreme right side of militia movement people. You're looking for the homesteading people, the people looking to build resiliency in their lifestyles, who are looking to not be 100% dependent on just-in-time delivery systems and all these things, and to the quality of the foods and things that they're looking at, which is a big one to me lately. I just read an article on the gassing of produce and how that is a leading cause, they've now determined, of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So if your fruit is being gassed ripened, that is a leading cause of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And the doctors out there are furious about it, but no one's going to change anything because there's too much of this involved.
Yeah.
So the idea of people taking it into their own hands, like we're working on our garden spot right now, getting it put back together and cleaned up because we traveled so much that it kind of went fallow. But we're getting it put back together and going to get it back in service and get back to growing and producing our own. And we trade with a lot of local folks here too. We've got a nice organic farm up the road. We've got local grown beef. So we're trying to eat local and avoid the pitfalls of industrial farming and ranching,
Yeah. I love that you said a friend of mine and I have a statement where we often end a lot of conversations where we agree to disagree.
Yep. We agree to disagree.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's like, I mean, and what, whether you're talking about a marriage or a family, in what environment do you get along on every topic? A matter of fact, this marriage or being in a relationship is a good example. It's like, you come together, you're in that passion state, everything is hunky dory. Everything about her is beautiful. Everything about you is beautiful. And then you guys have some time together and you start realizing like, oh no, yeah, we are human beings. And we cross those bridges where there are things we don't agree on, but doesn't mean that we have to hate each other. We still can be married, or we could still be together, or we could still build a community and not be 100% aligned in everything that we think. And that's very important to have that aspect. And I think, like you said, civil debate is good because it does help change perspectives. It helps grow perspectives. It gives you a better understanding about things. And, without that, then, what are we exactly? Are we drones? Are we clones? Like what does that look like? What does the world look like where everybody's just operating in an echo chamber and doesn't have any desire to actually see what's outside of their own mindset? And I think, the movies do that well. Those turn into like dystopian, stories.
Quickly, they do quickly. One of the favorite things that I like to say to people I disagree with, they take it as an offense in the beginning until I explain to them is, I'm like, you are entitled to your wrong opinion. And people are. Yeah, I may think your opinion's wrong, but you're fully entitled to it. And if people would just understand that that's not, I'm not disparaging you. I disagree. I believe your opinion's wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of calm down a little bit, But I say it as a joke because to me it's funny. You're entitled to your wrong opinion. But it gets some folks stirred up. And I think all of us need to take a breath and take a step back, especially with what's currently happening. This is being pre-recorded just a couple of days after the Pennsylvania incident with President Trump. And so there's lots of division in there, right in the country right now. A lot of hate and talk, and like I said, that's why it's nice that we're going to talk about this. And enough of that crap. Let's talk about Ready Expo. Let's talk about vendors and courses and things like that. Speakers, like what are you bringing together on that nice little 100-acre parcel, which I would love to get up to see, by the way. But what are you bringing together there, man?
So what I wanted to bring together is, like you said, a lot of people are very, concerned. They're not sure. They know that it's important to have certain self-reliant skills, but they don't have a place to do it or learn about it. And so having the average Joe be able to come out to this and like get people who speak, normal language, not somebody who's like a super scientist brain, like talking about things that are over your head, but somebody who could say, about 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to keep bees and here are my challenges. And that seems a lot more doable to somebody who has no idea, where they can look at that person and say, oh, like 3 years ago, you were like me and now you can teach me all this stuff about beekeeping. That's really important. That's somebody you can relate to. And so bringing people who can relate to one another as, individuals just looking to empower their lives and empower their families' lives, where they can learn these skills, where they can grow in these skills is really what the purpose of the Ready Expo is, to be ready. And it doesn't mean like for the end of the world ready. It just means like just for basic disruptions that happen, blackouts, hurricanes, earthquakes, where the emergency service system cannot recover fast enough. And so people have to understand how to defend on their own. Like you said, this just-in-time delivery system, if it breaks down, do we have enough toilet tissue in the house or a baby formula in the house to be able to deal with that type of disruption? And, so far, our government has done a good job of really making people feel like they don't need those things. And like everything is going to be okay. And it's very easy for people to slip back into this like confirmation bias or normalcy bias, where things are just like the norm is. I always have these things, so I never have to worry about it.
Yeah, normalcy bias. Nothing bad happened yesterday, so nothing bad will happen today. And,
yes.
And that's a trap that people fall into. And I wake up every day with what could happen today,
Mm-hmm.
And I take daily measures, for things I carry, the way I travel, where I go, everything. It all goes into it. And then people are like, oh, you live a life of fear. And I'm like, absolutely not. I have no fear in my life because I know that come what may, I'm pretty ready to deal with whatever may happen around me. Be it car accidents. I recently tended to a guy on a motorcycle accident on I-10 that rolled his bike into the median, and I don't think he survived. I was the first one to him, and I ended up pulling my stuff out because so many random people with zero knowledge showed up and were screaming and fighting over what to do with this guy, and they just wouldn't listen. And so I ended up just pulling my things out and actually left. I don't know if the guy lived because he was conscious and breathing, but his pupils were fixed and dilated. And he was 100% unresponsive and looked like he had some head trauma. So, but if more people would have known what to do, there wouldn't have been 15 people standing over me screaming at me what to do when I knew what to do with this guy.
Yeah.
I knew how not to hurt him. I knew how to check him, and I had all the equipment with me to do it.
Yeah.
But because of a mob of uneducated folks, I pulled my equipment out and stepped back. And so I don't know the outcome of that, but I attempted to render aid. And it's difficult to have that many people standing around you screaming at you that don't know what they're saying too. They're telling you the absolute wrong. I'm like, no, that's not what you do. And then they're getting in there and trying to pull on this guy. And I was like, you're hurting him worse. You guys need to stop. And they just wouldn't listen. So finally I just had to get out of the way. But I wish more people get educated, and events like this are a great way to do that, to get some education, because we are our own first responders. Like you said, it's not the end of the world, and it's not civil war. We're preparing for whatever. Like I live in Florida, hurricanes are a thing. We're gonna have hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, all the things you mentioned. And one of my driving goals for trying to remain as prepared as I can is that in the event of an emergency, I don't want to be a burden on rescue services. I don't want to be a burden on recovery personnel coming in. If I'm one less person they got to take care of, then that's one other person who actually needs help that they can take care of.
Yeah.
And if more people planned that way, the recovery times wouldn't be as long or dramatic, and there would be less people in the streets screaming, who's coming to help me? Help yourself. Start by helping yourself first. Relying on the government to come fix everything gives them far more power in our lives than they're supposed to have. And you should be prepared to take care of yourself.
Yes.
You should be, and your family, and then your community. Like I believe I'm an asset to my community because of the preps I've made, the things I have, the knowledge I possess. I can be a big asset to my community. So, and I try to stay in contact with folks in the community to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think building that sense of community again, because again, we were talking about how we're all isolated. I think reinforcing that idea of community, that like the town you live in should be the most important political focus you have, your state being second, or maybe your county second, then your state, then the federal government, because change happens at the local level. That's where things really begin, and it has the biggest impact as well. So, get out there, folks, and get involved, and go to events like Ready Expo, and get some instruction. So again, like I said, what other kind of instructors do you have, and speakers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we got everything from people who build tiny homes, like out of shipping containers. We have a gentleman of the that's been doing that for a living now. He got tired of being in the system and being caught up in this rat race of, mortgages and things of that nature, and just decided, he was going to take matters into his own hand. Went out, found a little plot of land, bought a shipping container, 2 shipping containers, and built himself this magnificent house. Bought the land, from what I understand, he bought the land and the shipping containers and did all the work for maybe about $150,000. And
Wow.
he recently just sold that to move on the land and the home for $800,000 and moved on to another location and is doing it again. Yeah. So and he's been helping a bunch of people buy shipping containers and build, and teaching them like how to do it. He holds classes. So he's just one of the many people we have coming that'll be teaching things like that. We got somebody who'll be teaching beekeeping. We have people who'll be teaching like basic survival. We have people who teach first aid and emergency management. We'll have people teaching classes for kids when it comes down to, how to be resilient and self-reliant. So it's going to be a multitude of different things, from herbal medicine to tiny home building, to solar power, to, farming, from self-defense to being able to survive in the bush if something was to happen, and wilderness medicine. So all this type of stuff is going to be things that we cover, and we're going to try to make it so that people are comfortable, so that people can be in a comfortable space learning these skill sets and gleaning invaluable and important knowledge that they can then move on and really put into use.
Yeah, because for a lot of people, it can be intimidating to come to events like this too, because they think, oh, there's going to be a bunch of wackos there. And I've got to say, from my experience with Mountain Readiness and most of the other expos that I've attended around the country, and it's been a bunch, that's just not the case. There's always a fringe element anywhere. But the vast majority, the 99.9% of the people that show up there are going to be just like you, just like us. They're just normal folks, normal lives, looking to make some changes. And some of them are making profound changes. Like you'll talk to some people like, well, yeah, we lived in California, in the valley, and we sold our house and we bought 50 acres in Arkansas and we're on a full homestead. I've had readers contact me with messages like that they sold their place in California, they moved to Missouri, they started a homestead, they homeschool their kids, and they're like, and we have all never been happier in our lives. Mm-hmm. That we're all together, that we're a family unit, that everybody's there. The kids work on the homestead, we work on the homestead, and they're like, and we've never been happier. And a message like that from a reader saying, hey, reading your book propelled us to go do this and make this drastic a change is fantastic, because they're having a better life and they're happier. And just that idea in the book of what could happen, and they looked around where they lived and thought, oh God, if something like that happens here, in the Valley of LA, you're in a bad place. And so I like people empowering themselves, because that's what this is. We look at what's being done to our food in this country. We look at what's being done with vaccines in this country. I know probably get demonetized on YouTube for that, but I don't care. I'm not afraid of language. And none of it is for our advantage. None of it is to help to prolong our lives or improve our lives or anything. All of it is simply designed to take our money. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. And if you can kind of remove yourself a little bit from that market economy by, like I say, working with local farms and local ranchers and local producers, where it's not always cash that we're dealing with. Sometimes it's an exchange of labor. Sometimes it's an exchange of silver coin. Sometimes it's just an exchange of cash. But, there's different ways of doing it, and you can know the butcher. If I get a piece of meat and later I find out there's something wrong with it, I can drive over there and be like, hey, y'all, there's ribeyes I got. This one was whatever. And they're going to make it right. Not that I've had a problem at all, but I think it's a better way of doing things. More difficult, like security is inconvenient. People don't like to be inconvenienced, and so everybody ignores security. Taking responsibility for your food's coming from and things like that is a little more complicated because it requires more time.
Yeah.
I can't just go to Publix and get everything I need at the grocery store. I've got to go hit the farmer. I've got to go hit the butcher. I've got to hit a few different places to get the things that I want. Hit my bee guy, because I used to raise bees too. Bears got into mine, and I just gave up the bears one. I could not, even with hot wire, I couldn't keep the bears out of my beehives. so I just gave up on raising bees. But I still have that knowledge and the equipment, so I can get back into it. Let's take a quick break, Hakim. We're going to run a quick little ad for everybody. You know, guys, we've got to sponsor things. This is how we try to make a little bit of money. And we'll be right back.
Let's talk food storage real quick. Now, I know you guys have seen this stuff in other places, but I actually ordered this. They didn't give it to me, and I was a customer before I became an affiliate with them. This stuff's fantastic. First, it tastes really good. Brick House Field of Greens, and I really like the berry. This is actually my favorite, the berry flavored one. With this, you get to replace all the vitamins and minerals that are lost through the preservation process. So you want to find a way to supplement that. One scoop of Brick House Field of Greens is your daily serving of fruits and vegetables. Cool thing about the Brick House Field of Greens like these, and they have other products too, but this will fit right in the rucksack. One scoop out of this mixed in a glass of water is your daily serving of fruits and vegetables. These things are chock full of superfoods. And this is not a supplement. Brick House is food. Check out Brick House at the link below, guys. Buy something, give it a shot. I'm a fan. I use it. I think you guys could too.
Mel and I start every day off with a superfood smoothie, essentially, of quality juice, the greens, some peptides, some other stuff in it. And that's our breakfast every morning, is doing that. And it'll make you feel better too. You don't realize, guys, how much actual nutrition you're missing out on. Going back again to food production, right? Mm-hmm. And the nutrition level of the food that's being provided to society is not what it should be. Let's just put it that way. And so things like Brick House and stuff like that, these condensed superfoods with all the greens and the real nutrients in them, when I drink that in the morning, it makes me feel great. It really does. When you're eating quality food, you feel better. You know?
Yeah.
So, and I like the idea of people raising their own. And two, a lot of folks are like, well, you know, I live in an apartment or a condo and I can't do this and I can't do that. Well, if you've got an apartment or a condo, you probably have a balcony, and I'll bet you could put 10 5-gallon buckets out there, and I'll bet you could grow some of your own food. Even if it's just an herb garden that you grow on your balcony that you use to cook with. You're introducing fresh and local homegrown into your diet and, you know, and into your body. You got to remember that the stuff we eat, we're not just eating it, it's becoming a part of us. So I want to make that as good as I can, you know. But especially, I don't know, when I turned 50, it kind of got to me that maybe we should be reevaluating this. Plus everything I read, you know, what they're trying to do to beef with introducing mRNA vaccines into beef and into pork. And the pork farming in this country is basically controlled by one entity, and it's China. Makes me nervous to eat their pork, you know. Even though it's grown here, I still don't really like Smithfield, and I'm not a fan anymore. But so find alternatives. So this will be the first one, Ready Expo, you're doing at your place. But you're going to consider this the inaugural. This is going to be the inaugural event for Ready Expo. And
yeah. This is the most important one. So it was my brainchild back in the day. You know, and my goal is to bring many different people from different backgrounds and cultures together. And one of the things that I see is that that's a strong challenge for people in the community as I was going around to the different events. And I think, you know, and I don't think it's anything other than, you know, inviting who you know and who's at these events and things of that nature. And I think that my goal is to bring all people together from different backgrounds so that we can all unite and like really learn this. And so that's what my original plan for the Ready Expo was. And so that's what I'm sticking with. So it's going to be a beautiful event where people from all backgrounds, from all different perspectives can come together and really learn these skills, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings trying to do the best that we can in a very challenging world, you know? And so the best way to do that is through unity and togetherness and fellowship, you know?
And cooperation.
And cooperation. Yes. And that's just the dawn of time. You know, there's people always talk about hermits and monks and stuff. And I mean, those are very small outlier percentage of the population. The greater portion of the population and how we really truly survived was through cooperating with one another and working together to make sure that we could survive another generation, you know? And Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, no man, woman, family can be an island. I've said this for years. You cannot do it on your own. You have to go to sleep at some point. You can only look in one direction at a time. So you need others around you. Plus, you know, when we look at some of the classic American last names, Baker, Weaver, Smith, things like that, those all came from skill sets. You know, the Weaver, that they got the last name because they were the Weaver. And, you know, they made basketry. Miller's last name, they were milling grain. You know, Smith, probably a blacksmith, because each of these people had a skill set, so they could focus on their skill set because they knew others were focusing on their own skill sets, and they could then work together to trade or barter or do whatever they need to do to keep a village alive. And if bad times came upon them, they pulled together. If conflict came upon them, they knew the men that were standing beside them. You know, they were part of their lives, and they knew they could depend on them, and they would fight to defend them because they were essentially family to them, you know, in a tribal sense. So we don't possess that so much anymore today. There's very little unity. I don't care which side of the fence you're on or who you're talking to. One side looks pretty unified, but I don't really believe they are. I think it's more of a fear-based unity for them. And there's another side here that's refuses to unify. Because as soon as they start trying to unify, they just tear each other apart. And it's incredible to see. You know, we just can't get folks to come together under common ideas and at least support each other in that regard.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see you doing things like this. And we're looking at bringing a mountain readiness to Florida, guys. That's another thing that's on the deck right now. We're looking for a venue. We're going to try to bring mountain readiness down to Florida because we believe there needs to be more of these.
Yeah.
And if you're free, we want you down here, man, for sure. Definitely going to have you come. So
I would love it. I would love it. And you're right. We need, and that was the purpose as well, is like that as many things as we can have going on that don't conflict with one another, that can bring people out to really learn this information is the best, you know? Because there's enough media channels out there doing the opposite, you know, like, and so, and they're hitting it every day, every week, you know, every month. So the more we can actually get people face to face, learning self-reliance skills, and then learning that, you know, the person that they thought was a certain way may not be as bad as they thought, you know, that's the best option for me. You know, that's what I'm looking to bring to the world.
Yeah, when you get it meet space, I like to call it. You meet space, MEAT meet space, where we're together. You can generally find out that this person is more like you than you believe, or you are led to believe, because it's a common misconception. We paint with broad strokes. Everybody on that who thinks that is this, and everybody who thinks that is that, and that's really not the case. It's like for myself in particular, not to get into politics, but I consider myself politically homeless. Neither party represents me. Neither party represents the way that I think and the things that I would like to see done. So I consider myself politically homeless because we don't have a third party option in this country. But that also allows me to look at the people on either side of the fence a little differently, because I'm not wholly in either camp. I'm more in one camp than the other. I'll admit that, but I'm not wholly in either camp. So only because you have to be. You know, your people are being driven away by some, and and therefore into the arms of others out of necessity. And I hope that some of this rhetoric and the violence, which has been at a simmering level for quite some time, doesn't increase. But I'm not optimistic just by looking at what's taking place. So for people who are looking for knowledge, who are wanting to know, what do I need to do? Like folks that maybe saw what happened in Pennsylvania and they're going, oh no, this is a way bigger deal than I thought. Bless you, man. They're like, where do I get started? Ready Expo, great place to get started.
Yes.
That's a great place to get started, to go learn what you should be focusing on first. And remember too, in survival, you're a primitive survival guy too, Hakim, and we like to boil it down to the essence of, in a survival situation, we assess our situation first, and the question we ask is, what's going to kill me first? Is it exposure? Is it dehydration? Is it I'm in a violent environment, or I'm in the middle of a forest fire? What's going to kill me first? I'm going to address that. And once that's addressed, I'm going to ask that question again. What's going to kill me next? And that's how we check that list off, because you'll eventually get to everything. Food and water will come into play. Water could be your number one priority, depending on where you're at. Food generally farther down the list, but asking yourself, what's my most immediate threat right now? And you can do that in your daily life, just on the daily, stay situationally aware, folks. I can't say that enough. Don't be looking at your phone. You're pumping gas. Don't be looking at your phone, really even sitting at red lights. You should have your eyes up and be scanning the area, because you can't see a threat that you're not looking for. And I know that you're big time into martial arts, self-defense, and self-preservation, as I like to call it, because that's what self-defense is. You guys going to be offering some classes there along those lines too, right?
Yes, we will. We'll be offering several self-defense classes. We got a guy coming out, and he'll be teaching like some basic stick stuff and basic knife defense. So there'll be quite a lot going on for people to have a good experience of and gain some general knowledge on a bunch of different topics.
I'll tell you, at Mountain Readiness, one of the most popular classes we had at our last event was a women's only AR-15 class.
Huh.
And I think that events don't focus enough on some women only things like that.
Yeah.
It was a bit of an eye opener for us. It was very well attended. Everybody who took it loved it. The ladies had nothing but praise for the class. And I think that's something just to consider, throwing it out there to you, that it was extremely popular. And it doesn't have to be AR-15. It could be a women's only stick class, or a women's only edged weapons, or a women's only what? Because women get a little intimidated to be around a bunch of macho guys who all think they know exactly what they're doing when they're taking a training class. And a lot of them don't know how to close their mouths and open their ears, because there's an instructor in front of them. They should be listening to him, not giving their opinions. But when you take the guys out of the equation, the women can really relax and focus on the instruction. And they're always better students.
Yeah.
They're always better students. They're more open to taking in the knowledge, and they generally don't have bad habits when they show up, which is, as an instructor, you spend as much time breaking bad habits as you do forming good ones. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's going to be great. What do you expect in attendance wise? I mean, I know it's early, ticket sales are, probably open, but what are you anticipating? And then what are you hoping for?
Yeah, ticket sales are open, and we're hoping. The last time we did this, we pulled in about 200 people.
Nice.
So if I can do that again for a second time in a new location, I'd be happy with that. Especially because I really want to balance out and understand what the flaws are in my system, and the best way to do that is to have you could do a dry run all day, but until you actually have 200 different people there with different experiences telling you this is what happened, then that changes the dynamic of things. So I really want to, if I get 200, I'll be extremely happy. If I get 300, I'd be really nervous, but happy as well.
I was just going to say.
But, the goal is that, can we make sure all the instructors are happy, and the vendors that they have good clientele to sell to, that are really looking to, get involved in this field and come looking to purchase items to help better their preparedness and things of that nature. And so it's going to be a nice balance of all of that going on. And so 200 to 300 is what I'm hoping for. That'd
be awesome. That'd be a good gathering. And yeah, T can explain all to you about that concept to execution thing for one of these, from the idea of getting her done, what it takes.
Yes.
But I know it'll come off well. I'm going to start promoting this for you everywhere on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be throwing the links around leading up to it, because we want to get as many people there as we can. Because, we stress training. And when we say training, we don't mean always weapons training, guys. We mean all the things, If you're not good with using hand tools, go take a class doing that, If you don't know how to can food or preserve food, go take a class doing that. You don't have to take weapons classes. Take a class on water purification. Take a class on trauma for medical emergencies. CPR, learn the basics and things. And then just start kind of modifying your life a little bit to improve it, to make it less unpredictable is one way I like to tell people, by knowing that what you're capable of and what you're prepared to deal with. Unpredictable things are not as big an emergency as they would be in other cases if you're not ready. You know?
Yes.
So, like my good friend Alan Kay says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
So get ready and stay that way. You got anything else on the horizon? I'm sure this is all encompassing for you right now, getting ready for this event, trying to clean up 100 acres. I'm sure you're probably pretty busy, but you got anything else going on right now, man?
And it's super hot right now, so trying to clean it all up, and and as fast as I can cut the grass grows back. It's like it's like Medusa's hair or something,
Tell me about it. I live in Florida, bro.
It just keeps growing fast, and there's a lot of moving pieces. So that's about it. I've been working on some additional books. I was PSYOP in the military, so I've been having people ask me about it, and I've been working on it for a long time. A book called Pinocchio's Liberation, and that's just about some of the techniques, tactics, and procedures that I see happening out in the world, and it gives people kind of an understanding of what that is and what they look like, so that they can really think deeply about the stuff that they're seeing and try to piece together their own view, but from an informed place where they have some knowledge about how these things are done. And so that's something I've been working on. And of course, I've been in school. I've been going to school for herbal medicine for a couple of years now. So I've been trying to get that done. And so keeping all that stuff going, man, it's just been a crazy, crazy ride. And, I own 2 martial arts schools, so keeping those thriving as well. Yeah,
you got the big 24-hour gym dojo up there, don't you?
Yeah.
How's it doing? How's the community?
It's going well. I've been doing that. I've had that business now for 17 years.
Wow.
So, yeah. Okay. So, and then the new one, I was only been about 2 years. So I'm looking at, I'm looking at that now and seeing what it looks like to, what the next transition for me looks like. What's the next level of growth?
That's cool, man. I like that. Because it just goes back to, again, the things you're doing. We harp on this, and some people get told, but that community aspect. You are a value add to your community.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the business you run, they're not there just to sell a product or a service. I mean, they're a meeting place for folks. They're a place where people can go to de-stress at the end of the day, where they can go learn some skills as well. And just maintaining that PT, which all of us have to do more of that.
Yes,
all of us do, because we've taken all the work out of work. So we've all got to get out there and move more. So that's a big deal too.
Yeah, I feel you on that, 100%.
Well, Hakim, we got the links to everything in the description down below, guys. Jump over and pick up tickets, pre-order your tickets, help Hakim out so he can either be really happy as this thing approaches or getting even more nervous because he's selling close to 300 tickets.
That's funny. Yeah. And they could go to readyexpo.com, but remember the expo is spelled XPO. So readyexpo.com. Tickets are up. Information's out there. Some of the, most of the instructors are up, their bios and stuff. So you can look into those. So yeah, we have all that going.
Fantastic, man. Well, we will follow up with you as we move along through this thing and stay in touch. We want to know how it goes. Mountain Readiness, we fully support what you're doing. This isn't competition, guys. This is another event. It's another opportunity, and we're all about helping people create opportunities for people to learn and network, and network. And in your area, like this one's in a part of North Carolina where no one's done an expo, right? Hakim, there's nothing over like that. So here you guys go. If you live in that region, this can now be your spot. A once or twice a year thing where you can go and see some old friends, learn some new skills, the whole thing, and talk with vendors. So support what he's doing, support the mission, because it's all good things.
Absolutely.
All right, Hakim, thanks for being here, man. And we will catch you down the road, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate it.
Anytime. You guys know the drill. Be good or be good at it. We'll catch you next time.